Does it say yep, now it says I'm recording. Okay. So we're creating a new server 2016 VM. We'll name it Monday Server RO. Into all those things we'll do after it's installed and comes up and going. We'll install the Active Directory, the main service role, and the DNS service role. We'll run Sys Prep. We'll really highlight that part right there and run the Sys Prep. So I hope you all remember how to do all of that. Like I said, Sean's going to run, I think, his at home on VMware, and that's fine.
And that's a network type. And it's giving you some
On your VMware, use host only network. That way you can like ping your host computer, but you can't ping outside. You may be a little faster than us. I don't know. You'll just create two of them like that. And you'll name yours. You probably want to name yours like server 1, server 2.
I've got my this one. It turned out we can do that.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Are we creating a new server, like a new virtual machine?
Yes.
And where are we going back into the same directory to go get the files to install it, or are we just reinstalling the same virtual machine file?
Not quite sure what that question was, but you have to attach that ISO image from the C drive ISO. Let me look at Jonathan's here. Hey, let's look at this. Power off. And we're saying when attaching, so that looks good. What may have happened was the hitting of the space bar. That's what it was. Probably missed the space bar. Now you can hit enter.
Thank you.
Jared.
Is it VMware W10?
So, are you missing? That's weird. What's somebody done to your system? How do you only have weird stuff? Huh. So you need, we're going to install that one later, and that one. Wait, now that's showing everything, isn't it? You're on the wrong. You weren't the right. You didn't go far enough. There you go. You were looking for a hard disk file. So you can click open. You jump out of your system. Yes, Joshua. So it should be the. Let me look here. Yep, that long one. I'm going to go ahead and create mine real quick. I'll bring up. So we said we're going to go a new virtual machine. And we're going to go next. The name, we said Monday. Server RO. We said we're going to go generation 2. The RAM, 4096. Sean, you got enough RAM in that system?
Yeah.
I'll say if you had 16 gig, you might want to drop yours like lower than that, but that's pretty cool. 32 gigs, plenty. Use dynamic memory. The network, we said internal. Y'all are geniuses. Y'all did this last year. Y'all know all this stuff, right?
It's been a minute.
The hard disk size was changing this 120 gig down to 60. And then attaching that ISO image is on the next screen. And that ISO file was, oh, mine's on a different drive. It's the SW DVD9. It has the Core 2016 edit. So that
Wait, where are we supposed to get the image from?
should be on your C drive.
Or
ISO.
C drive?
Yep. So your screen, yeah, you click browse there. And then double click C. Then double click ISO folder. And you should scroll down and hopefully it's in your list. SW DVD9. Yep, that one right there. And when you start up your virtual machine, remember you have to hit the space bar to get it going. So you'll click start and then you'll click in the little black window as it's starting and be ready to, you might just tap the space bar. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect to mine. I'll hit the power button. I'm going to click inside the window and I'm just going to tap the space bar. And then that's when you get your boot manager. If it didn't go to that, so you may have to hit the reset button. That's the play button at the top. And then just do the standard. So we're going to do, you remember the first two, you're going to install it with a graphical desktop. With a graphical desktop. The server 3 is the one that we're going to be installing as core. So if you remember when we come through and do our language and everything, you click install now. It should pop up and ask us. I don't remember how many dialog boxes we get to, but I think the next dialog box is we want to make sure that this one installs with the graphical interface.
Is it a generation 1 or a generation 2?
Remember the recommended, we're generation 2. Here we go. I'll try to position that all on the screen. So the default here is not the graphical desktop, but we said we want graphical desktop for our first 2. Here on campus, all of our new servers that we're deploying, the 2016 and 2019 servers, we are deploying them as core, because in the past we've had junior admins jump on and install stuff into them onto the domain controllers. It didn't need stuff installed onto the domain controllers. So installing it as core is kind of eliminated or stopped the junior admin from jumping in and installing junk onto the domain controllers. But for lab purposes, we're going to run this full graphical desktop experience for server 1 and 2, just like we did in the spring. And our server 3 is going to be the core. Do you remember what you had to click here? Correct. I'm proud of y'all. You learned. Learned. So we had to get custom because there's nothing to upgrade, because remember, it's brand new. Good critical thinking skills. I think y'all are starting to get better critical thinking. It's what IT is all about. Is what do I need to do to fix it? Broke, gotta fix it. Do what? Oh. Do you have a question? Or? So it's going to be under C drive in ISO. Hit cancel on that. You're, I think, not in the right dialog box. You click that top radio button and then click next. Nope, cancel that. That's the hard disk area. You need to go next to get to the ISO. Yeah. That, yeah. SW file. So that's going to install. I'm going to pause the share, pause recording. Oh, I got chats. Why can I not see? The stupid chat window doesn't stay up on the screen. Yeah, pass1234 is our password. I think Haley Smith is saying she's beyond awesome. That's what I read. Okay, so pass1234. And you remember the little control alt delete nifty button? I probably remember that one. Does yours have link clone? or just clone?
I'm, well, according to the VMware website, it has been cloned.
Okay,
Trying to figure out how to do that.
and that's what we'll be doing with VMware. I mean, if you got enough hard disk space, you don't really have to do that. I'm just doing that because I have security and LAN 1 and LAN 2 and VMware class. So we got lots of virtual machines.
I haven't dedicated on that.
So if you had enough, you could just actually just clone yours if you wanted to. But
That is true, it could be that.
well, I was just doing this just to show how that you could, if you don't have that much space at home and you're wanting lots and lots and lots of virtual machines, or several of the same virtual machine, we're going to have 2 servers that slightly smaller. So we'll have to activate the VM. It doesn't really matter if we activate it or not. We're going to go ahead and activate it. And I think the test out says where the activation keys are located. You can also Google the activation key for Hyper-V and 2016 server. It'll be on the Microsoft website. But this one, is just going to be our linked clone, so we don't have to activate this one, I don't believe. I don't think it keeps the activation when we sys prep it. So what's my next step? I'm supposed to install Active Directory, domain services, and DNS. So does everybody remember how to add roles under manage? Just put the 2 check boxes. We're not going to configure. So those are the 2 roles that we need to make our domain controllers work for our lab environment. So just those 2 checkboxes, except the feature updates or the feature tools. And that should be all that we need. We just next through everything else. And so there's our notepad again. I'm just going to start putting those 2 checkboxes on server roles. And at the end, I'm going to try to find my Sys Prep. Pretty sure it's in that folder, what I remember. And we got to check that generalize, otherwise it will not clone. I mean, it won't, we won't be able to set up our 2 clones off of this if it's not generalized. That security identifier that's generated at install time has to be removed. And that's what that checkbox for generalized does under Sys Prep. And Hyper-V doesn't seem to be as cool as VMware. VMware has some cool stuff. It's got like, it knows how to script Windows. You can clone with VMware without having to run Sys Prep. It'll auto do it and auto generalize it. You think Hyper-V, there may be a way to do it in Hyper-V, but seems like it's just easier with VMware. And y'all get to learn VMware in the spring, I think, maybe. That's going to be interesting if it's still remote trying to do VMware in the spring. Okay, so my feature installation, the little progress bar completed. There's nothing else on the screen that tells you it completed other than the bar gets to the end. So I'm going to close that. And it's at this point that I'll run the Sys Prep. So just follow the notepad, find Sys Prep and run it. One other thing on Sys Prep that I think has caused some snafus in the last. You did reboot and it started to reboot. You'll have to log back into the system to rerun Sys Prep. It cannot attempt to boot. If it gets like 2 milliseconds into booting, it'll regenerate that SID. That's the first thing it does. So you have to have it on shutdown. We had a couple of people I think did that. They started to restart it and then they hit the power button thinking they caught it in time. Now, if it starts to attempt to boot back up, you'll have to let it boot all the way back up, answer all those questions, and re-Sys Prep it. So shutdown is required because reboot, you normally can't catch it in time. So I'm going to hit OK. It's going to shut down, and I'm going to delete the virtual machine after it shuts down. And that's like Jacob's putting his pass 1, 2, 3, 4 in there.
Did you have to change any settings to boot up Sys Prep, or like did you change it to like did you leave it to reboot and the one that it or the other thing that it came with, or
See the notepad? Oh, now I'm looking at your screen. Yeah, can you see the notepad? You got to make those changes.
okay, all right, I see generalized and then make sure you select.
Yeah, the shutdown has to be selected because it cannot start up. So I've completed every step that I have in my notepad at this point in time. The
So
virtual,
we need to delete it.
the virtual machine is now powered off, and to prevent it from accidentally starting, yes, we delete that machine so it cannot be accidentally started. And now it'd be a That'd be a good time for me to pause the recording. Resume recording. So my virtual machine that we installed has been deleted, so we do not accidentally start the thing. And the next step, create 2 differencing disks and use the Monday server ro.bhdx file with the parent. Then we create 2 VMs and attach the differencing disk. So we're going to name oh no, I sneezed. I have to go home. Class was canceled for the semester. I'm joking. Okay.
Dang it, I got so excited.
Name the disk and VMs Monday server 1, Monday server 2. Should we put our names on there? Probably. Jeremiah. You with us, Jeremiah? Don't use Goodman this time. Jeremiah probably fell asleep. I don't know.
No, I'm here.
Jeremiah, wake up.
Yeah, don't use Goodman this time.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and step through this so that you can watch if you don't remember all of these steps. It's kind of a convoluted way to do it, a lot more complicated than other virtualization technologies out there, but that's Microsoft. So we're going to create 2 differencing disks first, and we're going to link them to the read-only. So VHD, not SX, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Hyper-V. I'm going to click on New Hard Disk. That brings up the hard disk wizard. And I'll try to be verbose on this. So if you're watching this or you just want to listen because you're doing it remote and you don't have enough screens to see everything, I'll try to talk you through. So before you begin, we're just going to go next. We come up and it's asking us to choose the disk format. So we choose the VHDX format, which is already defaulted selected. The disk type, well, the PowerPoint or the notepad said differencing, so we're going to click on differencing disk. When we go next, it'll ask us to create a name for the differencing disk, and that is where that we will use the Monday, your last name, not mine, your last name. So Monday, your last name, server 1, or if you've already sped through this and doing server 2, then server 2. We've got to create 2 of these, one for domain controller 1, one for domain controller 2. The name field, Monday, space, type your last name, space, server 1. It should be, if you're on the remoting in or on the campus computer, the location should be V drive or virtual disk. It's our SSD drive, so we can make these things go really fast. When you click next, well, we'll have a location V drive, and it wants you to browse and find the parent disk. The parent disk is the read-only disk. So click Browse. You should have one disk there. And it should be your Monday server RO. So highlight the Monday server RO and open. And that's how that you link the parent to the one that you're creating. And then you can just click Finish after that is selected. You have to do the exact same step for number 2. Well, that'll be creating a new hard disk. Let me check out Jacob's here. You can't do the differencing yet. I don't think you've gotten Sys Prep. You have to finish Sys Prep and do the shutdown. You got to install the 2 roles first. So like manage and add roles. And you got to add your, just go next to next. Add your Active Directory domain services and DNS. Yep, add features. The second one. And add features. And then just next and install. Okay, that'll take a little bit of time. When your progress bar gets finished, let us know. Okay, so I'm back here. I'm creating a second disk. Went to new hard disk. Same thing. I'm going next. This format is the default there. VHDX for some reason is not already set at that. The disk type was differencing. So I did have to make that change. The name, Monday, your last name, and then server 2. And then I'll go next and I'll browse again. And still picking the read-only disk, Monday server RO as the parent disk. And then finish.
Okay, so I just finished doing the differencing for the parent. I just did those differencing things.
Okay.
So what do I do after that?
So the next step is we're going to create 2 new virtual machines and attach the differencing disk to them, naming them the same name that you named the differencing disk. And we'll step through that in a little bit, but that's our next step. We're creating a new virtual machine. We'll do all the same settings like generation 2, the 4096 meg of RAM, the dynamic memory check, the internal network. And when we come to the disk portion, instead of creating the 60 gig, instead of changing that 127 gig disk, we're going to tell it to use an existing disk, browse, and attach our differencing disk to it. So that's the one step that's going to be a bit different. And did everybody get the differencing disk? Okay. Let's see here. Jacob, did yours finish? Okay. Now you need to run the Sys Prep. Where's this at? So you're at this part right here, up here on the board. You go to C, open up File Explorer and go to C, System 32 Sys Prep, and run that Sys Prep program. And the rest of y'all can be creating your VMs. I can just close that and close out that Internet Explorer window. I'm not sure. Yeah, hit OK. Don't know why that opened. Hit close again. Yeah, close all tabs. Get rid of that. So I go to the Sys Prep directory. You went one directory too far. And run the Sys Prep. Yeah, that works. You have to hit generalize and then shut down and click OK. I'm not sure why it says that. You can just close that and hit the X on that. What? The memory? It's 1096. Yeah, we're going to same settings as the last one, except for that part right there. It's where you attach the differencing disk.
Do you want the format of the virtual machines the same as the other one?
Denied.
So Haley's like, what did yours say? Yours should have shut all the way down. I don't know if you're a Sys Prep. It should have set all the way down. Haley, you may have to. The Internet Explorer window. So if yeah, if it didn't shut all the way down and turn off, you may have to create the virtual machine and attach that RO file again, start it back up, and then run Sys Prep on it again. But that's pretty easy. Just create a new machine and attach that RO as the hard disk file. Start it up and reshut it down. Recreate your differencing disk after that's done. I don't know that I know what you've seen. Let me see. Where's your computer at? Haley, that screen. I don't know. To be safe, Haley, you probably want to create a new virtual machine and reattach that RO and boot it back up and do the Sys Prep again. So I'll go through the steps. I'm going to create my two virtual machines, new virtual machine. And this will be attaching the Sys Prep, not the Sys Prep, the differencing disk to it. I'll learn to speak here in a little bit. So new virtual machine wizard. Next, you name it the Monday Goodman server 1, or well, your last name, server 1 or server 2. The generation is the generation 2, just like we did before. And when you go next, the size of memory is the 4096 with dynamic memory checked. And then when you go next for configuring the network adapter, it will be set at internal. When we go next, this is the one thing that we're changing. We'll use an existing virtual disk this time around. And you will use the browse button. And I named this one server 1, so that's where I'm picking my server 1 differencing disk. It's right now 4,000 kilobytes in size. So I'll click open. That was the change. And then I'll just click finish. So on Haley, if you need to attach your RO, that's what you would do. You'd go to there and probably delete those 2 differencing disks and just reattach the RO and start it back up and run the Sys Prep again. So yeah, Haley, you'd only delete your differencing disk and disconnect the RO. And then boot up that RO again. Make sure Sys Prep runs properly. Okay, I'm going to create my second one. So new virtual machine. Next, the name is going to be Monday Goodman Server 2 this time. Step through everything or do the generation 2. 4,096 meg of RAM and use dynamic memory. The internal network. The hard disk size, use existing disk, browse, and I'm going to find my server 2. And then click finish. Once that's done, you can start up both server 1 and server 2. Step through the out-of-box experience wizard, setting the pass 1, 2, 3, 4 as the password. And you can look on Canvas under week 1, and it tells you the name, the IP addresses, the subnet mask, all of that stuff to set up, the time zone to set up for the server. And it also tells you where to get the license key to license them and activate them.
My server got accepted, or it accepted to boot up.
What?
My server succeeded, or my virtual machines, or
Oh,
one of them succeeded at booting up.
That's good. I'm just gonna start mine in the background and wait for a little bit. Let them churn along and get started. Let's check out. So Haley's machine, just hit close there. And click use existing virtual hard disk. And then browse and select your RO. Actually click on those differencing disks, go back to browse. Go ahead and click and delete those. Yeah, now click that one, then click finish. And just go ahead and start it back up. We'll see what it does. See, check out Jacob. Where are you at, Jacob? Do you create your differencing disk? Or are you creating the new virtual hard disk? Okay, so click, just click cancel there. So Monday Lambert server 1. Okay, that's good. Go next. And there's where that looks good. Yep. Perfect. Now just go create the number 2. Awesome. Now you create new virtual machine. I just named it. Yep, Monday, Lambert server 1. Gen 2, 4096. Oh, go back. 4096. Now you need a checkbox. 4096. Your numlock. Yeah. Then hit that check. There you go. And use an existing disk. Then browse. And then do the same thing for number 2. Yes, John?
Is it supposed to say this?
Probably not. Hold on, let me look.
Definitely set it to.
Yep. That's normal. It's looking for a parent. And it always gives that. If you're the top, it always throws that error. It doesn't expect that it's the top. It expects there's somebody else above it. Well, this is working out okay. It's a little cumbersome, I think, for people remoting, but it seems like everybody's plugging along around the same speed. Sean's just being a nerd, speeding everything along.
Tell Sean to quit being a nerd for 5 minutes for me, please.
Might be a photo.
Could be. You probably, our CPUs are, I'm sure, a lot older than yours.
Yeah, but I'm waiting.
Yeah. AMD's, the Ryzen's definitely newer than these chips. These servers were, I think, 2014, I believe, so they're a good 6 years, 7 years old on the processor, and the processor is probably, you know, a year or two old when we bought the system, so I don't know the manufacturing date on these processors, but mostly the RAMs are a big issue. I really don't run into processor speed and unless I'm rendering videos.
Quarter to 2012. Right.
You looked up our CPUs.
I did
When was it made?
quarter to 2012.
Okay, so yeah, so we're 8 years, 8-year-old processors in these machines, but you know, sure processors have gotten a little bit better, but not. Well, AMD's really kicking butt on Intel.
If you update your processor, will that make it updated? So you will be having like a 2020 version of a processor?
Well, normally I have to have another motherboard most of the time because processors upgrade. They also have faster PCI, like Ryzen's PCI Express version 4 or something like that. So
I was just being funny, but yeah, you're right.
megahertz speed is normally not really much room to upgrade. You normally, I think Ryzen has a little bit. You can put better processors, but you normally have to have a whole new RAM and everything to
The thing I've noticed,
speed everything. So Haley's next step. I think you created your differencing disk. So now you're just creating VMs and attaching those differencing disks, just like we did the read-only one, but you'll create 2 new virtual machines, name them, instead of RO at the end, server 1, server 2 at the end, and then attach the differencing disk to it. And that's where you do the use existing disk, Haley. The radio button. Yeah, there you go. Pick server 1. And then finish. And you'll just do that, but do it for server 2. So Microsoft makes that process quite complicated. Misspelled your name.
Here's one thing. Microsoft servers that I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Okay. I don't know if I can
What are client access licenses for? I've never understood the purpose of them.
I've always just kind of ignored them, but normally you had, I think, client access licenses are now kind of sort of included with Windows, but in the past, if you had 100 computers, you had to pay Microsoft so much for the server, and then you had to buy 100 licenses so that you could allow 100 computers to access the server. It's just a way of dumping money to Microsoft. So you would have to research client access license, and well, we run in education, so we kind of get like a blanket license with them. We pay lots of money for unlimited license. You heard that right? Unlimited license for the system. So that's a lot of money that we throw at them. I don't know how much it is a year. ASU Jonesboro system deals with that. It's probably 7 figures.
No wonder you don't serve this company.
That's not bad.
Cost 7 or 8 figures that we throw at them, probably for that, even with education. So
That's
you got,
not bad at all, to be honest.
when you deploy these out to companies and stuff, you'd have to research what type of licensing they need for the size. And it changes from, if you have less than 25 computers, you go by a certain type of license. If you have over 25, you buy another type. It's complicated. So hey, you just right click and start yours now, each one of them. And we are running down to the end of class. I've not had any time to do much online, but we got them installed. And so what we'll do on Friday, we'll continue the out-of-box experience, setting up the IP addresses and stuff like that, and deploying the contosa.com domain. So I'm going to leave mine at this point, and we're going to start closing everything out. You can leave them running, of course, and logging out of your system, and we will use these little staining wipes, and you can wipe down your station. Who stays for the next class? Anybody stay for the next class? So if you're staying here for, if you're staying in this room for security. If not, if you have to go to another room, you can wipe your keyboard, mouse, desk area, and see. So I would log out before I can get one of these. So I can pass these. I'll get some.
Do I need to like screen too?
Just keyboard mouse, like around the list, under the desk area. I do the two maps, it's the hardest thing. Like, I think that's the safest route. That way we're all sanitized for my security class.
Do I have to sanitize my keyboard and mouse?
You just need to drink about a shot of Lysol. I'm joking, don't do that. That would
Maybe
kill.
we need to make that a trend,
That would
like the
probably-
whole Tide Pod situation.
So now I can